The email came at 2:17 a.m. No sender. No subject. Just one chilling line. He didn't just film the crimes. He created them. Private investigator Evan Cross stared at the screen, half convinced it was a prank. But the message came with an attachment, a still frame from what appeared to be a movie set. A woman's terrified face. A director's clapperboard mid-snap. The film's title read, "The Final Cut." At first, Evan dismissed it. The image looked too cinematic to be real. Then his eyes caught the name printed across the clapperboard, Victor Dane. That changed everything. Victor Dane wasn't just any director. He was a legend, a master of dark, psychological thrillers that left audiences breathless and critics speechless. But behind his genius lay a cloud of mystery. People whispered about the strange lengths he went to for realism, about scenes so authentic they made viewers question what was fiction and what wasn't. And recently, Dane had vanished from the spotlight. No interviews. No premieres. No new projects, at least, none that were public. Evan started digging and found that Dane had been quietly renting equipment under shell companies, cameras, lights, sound rigs. Every delivery went to the same unmarked warehouse on the city's industrial edge. No permits. No paper trail. No crew lists. Then came the detail that chilled him: 3 of Dane's production assistants had gone missing in the last year. The more Evan searched, the stranger it became. The director's mansion, once buzzing with press and parties, was now silent and gated off. But inside, someone was still working: late-night deliveries, blacked-out windows, and faint lights flickering behind the curtains. Evan reached out to an old contact at the Film Guild, who confirmed that Dane had been working on a private film, something he claimed would change the boundaries of cinema forever. No one had seen a script. No one knew who was in it. Evan's instincts screamed danger. So he went to Dane's abandoned studio lot, long shut down after a fire years earlier. Dust hung thick in the air, and half-burned posters curled on the walls. Film reels lay scattered across the concrete floor like evidence from a forgotten crime. One reel caught his eye, a red label scrawled in marker. Scene 9, Reel Version. Evan found a working projector in the corner and threaded the film through. The image flickered to life. A woman sat tied to a chair in a dimly lit room, her eyes wide with terror. Her lips trembled as she pleaded for mercy. Then came a voice, calm, almost soothing. "Don't act," it said. "Just feel it." The woman screamed. The screen went black. Evan's chest tightened. He paused the reel and replayed the final seconds, focusing on the timestamp, August 12, 2:14 a.m. That same night, an actress named Cara Blaine had gone missing. Last seen leaving Victor Dane's private audition studio. It wasn't coincidence anymore. The next morning, Evan took the film to Detective Mara Keene, a veteran of Hollywood's cold cases. Together, they ran a forensic analysis. When they enhanced the image's reflection in a metal tray beside the bound woman, a face appeared, faint but unmistakable. Victor Dane. The case exploded from rumor to obsession overnight. Detectives raided Dane's studio, but every hard drive, every camera, every backup reel, gone. Whoever cleaned the scene knew what they were doing. Then, just as suddenly, Evan received a package. No return address. No name. Only an SD card. He inserted it into his computer. Footage appeared, handheld, shaky, grainy. Victor Dane looked directly into the lens. "You're watching my masterpiece before it's finished, Mr. Cross," he said. "Be careful. The audience isn't supposed to see behind the curtain." The video cut to static. For days, rumors flooded the tabloids. Some claimed Dane was shooting an immersive thriller that used real fear. Others believed he'd gone mad, or worse, that he'd started living his own scripts. But Evan couldn't let it go. The evidence was incomplete, the story unfinished. Then came one final message, another anonymous email, this time with an address. Pier 19, Storage Unit 47. Evan arrived at dawn. The air was thick with salt and oil. The storage unit was cold, lined with metal shelves stacked with dusty film reels labeled in red ink. Regret. Control. Obsession. Confession. On the far wall, a blood-smeared clapperboard sat under a flickering light. Before he could process what he was seeing, footsteps echoed behind him, slow, deliberate. Evan spun around, flashlight shaking. The beam caught the reflection of a camera lens, pointed straight at him. A voice whispered from the shadows. "You're part of it now." The overhead lights blazed to life. The room wasn't a warehouse anymore. It was a film set. Bright spotlights. Cameras. Tripods. A silent crew wearing black masks stood in the corners. And sitting calmly in the director's chair, Victor Dane. Scene 10, Dane said softly, a sinister smile curling on his lips. Investigator enters the truth. Evan froze. Was this real? Or was he trapped inside the movie Dane had been making all along? The director gestured toward a monitor. On the screen was a live feed, showing Evan himself, standing in that exact moment, from multiple camera angles. "It's not about the film," Dane whispered. "It's about who's watching." Before Evan could move, two masked crew members stepped forward and grabbed him. "Every great story," Dane said, raising his hand like a conductor, "needs a witness." The lights dimmed. The cameras rolled. And the director called out his final line. Cut. When Evan woke, he was sitting in his car outside his office. The sky was gray. His head pounded. He had no memory of how he'd gotten there. A small flash drive rested on the passenger seat. A yellow sticky note read, "Part 2, coming soon." He plugged it into his laptop with trembling hands. The screen lit up, showing his own face, his own voice, speaking words he didn't remember recording. "This is Evan Cross, and this is the story of how I became the final scene." The screen cut to black. The final cut. The flash drive wouldn't stop haunting Evan Cross. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the note scrawled on its side in red ink, "Part 2, coming soon." He'd watched the footage a dozen times, searching for a logical explanation. But there wasn't one. Because what it showed wasn't Victor Dane, the missing film director. It showed himself. Evan sat frozen in front of his laptop, heart pounding as the grainy video played. His own face stared back from the screen, pale, exhausted, eyes hollow. "My name is Evan Cross," the recording said, voice trembling. "And I've seen the ending. You won't believe how it ends." Then, the version of himself on the screen leaned closer, whispering something that made the real Evan's blood turn cold. He said, "We're all characters now." The screen went black. Evan stared at his reflection in the laptop. Same face. Same scar under his eye. But something about his recorded self, the slow, deliberate way he moved, felt, directed. Like someone had written every line. The next morning, he took the drive to Detective Mara Keene. She looked tense as she watched the footage. When it ended, she leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. "It's not real," she said softly. "Some kind of digital manipulation, a deepfake." "But why me?" Evan asked. "Why put me in it?" Mara hesitated. "Maybe because you're getting too close." "Too close to what?" "To the truth," she said. She slid a manila folder across her desk. Inside were old production stills from Dane's early films, behind-the-scenes photos, call sheets, and crew rosters. But one image stopped Evan cold. In the corner of a group photo, taken years ago, was him, standing beside Dane, clipboard in hand. "That can't be me," Evan said. "I've never met him before this case." Mara's eyes didn't move from his. Then how do you explain the scar? You didn't have that before the fire at Studio 8. That night, sleep refused to come. Evan replayed the old photo in his mind, the faint scar under his left eye, the same one he'd gotten years ago in a car accident. Or, was it an accident? The questions gnawed at him until he finally gave in and drove to Pier 19, where Dane's studio warehouse once stood. The place was silent except for the rain tapping against broken windows. Inside, a faint hum echoed through the darkness. A single projector sat on a crate, already on, its light flickering across the concrete wall. On the floor, written in chalk, were 3 words. Watch the end. He hesitated, then pressed play. The projection flickered to life, grainy, shaky, filmed with an old camera. And there he was again, Evan, sitting in a chair, bound by ropes, staring straight into the lens. His face looked terrified. He made me tell the story, the recorded Evan said. He said if I didn't finish it, someone else would. Behind him, in the film, the shadow of another man moved, tall, calm, unmistakable. Victor Dane. Art demands sacrifice, Dane's voice said. And every story needs an ending. The projector sputtered, then stopped. Evan stood there, frozen. The sound of rain seemed to fade into silence. He realized he wasn't alone. A light flickered in the corner of the warehouse. Slowly, a figure stepped forward, tall, black coat, camera in hand. Victor Dane was standing there, alive. Evan's voice broke. You're supposed to be dead. Dane smiled faintly. Death is just good marketing. He set the camera down and looked at Evan like a teacher studying a student. You were never investigating me, Evan. You were finishing me. I don't understand. Yes, you do. Dane's voice was calm, chillingly precise. You came to me 5 years ago with an idea for a film. You wanted to make something real. Something that blurred truth and fiction. You just forgot your own script. Evan shook his head. No, that's not true. Dane cut him off. Isn't it? You disappeared for 6 months during pre-production. You said you wanted to experience what it felt like to lose yourself. I helped you do that. And then you ran. He stepped closer. But stories don't run from their endings. The projector clicked back on. This time, it showed both of them, Dane and Evan, standing exactly where they were now. It wasn't a recording. It was a live feed. Evan turned, searching for the camera, but there was none. Only that single beam of light cutting through the dust. Stop this, he shouted. Dane only smiled. You started it. Then he pressed a remote in his hand. Somewhere behind them, machinery whirred to life. A set of ceiling lights lowered, flooding the room in cinematic brilliance. And for the first time, Evan saw the space for what it really was, not an abandoned warehouse, but a fully built movie set. The same one from Dane's last unfinished film. The Investigator. Evan's knees weakened. No. Yes, Dane whispered. You've been inside the film the whole time. On the far wall, giant screens came alive, showing scenes from his investigation, the warehouse, the police office, the drive, even his apartment. Every moment he thought he'd lived privately had been shot. Each one labeled in neat white text, Scene 3. Scene 5. Scene 8. And at the bottom, in bright red letters. Final scene, now recording. Evan lunged toward Dane, but the director stepped back. Don't ruin your own ending, he said calmly. You wanted truth. Here it is. He pointed toward the projector light. Look. Evan turned, and saw himself on the wall again. But this time, his projected self raised a gun. The real Evan froze. The image fired. A deafening bang echoed through the studio. Smoke filled the air. Evan stumbled, gripping his chest, but there was no blood, no pain. Just sound. A blank gunshot. Dane's laughter echoed through the fog. Perfect. The illusion holds. Evan looked up, trembling. You're insane. No, Dane said quietly. I'm an artist. He reached for the final reel of film sitting beside him, labeled the END, and placed it into the projector. Every story needs closure, he said. Even if it kills its writer. He pressed play. The reel began to spin. The light flared brighter than before, almost blinding. Through the haze, Evan saw the images racing by, his own life flashing frame by frame. Every moment, every breath, every fear, every discovery. Then the reel reached the final image. It wasn't Evan. It wasn't Dane. It was a title card. Directed by Victor Dane, written by Evan Cross. The screen burned white, and the projector shut off. When the smoke cleared, Victor Dane was gone. So was the film reel. Only Evan remained, standing alone in the empty warehouse. He looked around, no cameras, no sound, no light. Just silence. He exhaled, shaken, disoriented. Maybe it had all been staged. Maybe it was real. He didn't know anymore. What if the truth behind a famous director's new thriller wasn't fiction at all? When private investigator Evan Cross takes a routine case, he stumbles onto something far darker, a film that was never meant to be seen, and a secret powerful enough to destroy lives. Each clue pulls him deeper into the mind of a man who blurs the line between art and murder, and this time, the ending might just be written in blood. This is the shocking story of how one investigator uncovered the director's secret thriller plot, and the horrifying truth behind the screen. Movie Camera. If you love mystery, suspense, and true cinematic intrigue, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you on edge till the final frame.